Hello, and welcome back to another fun-filled episode of the Hammercast. I'm your host, Alex, the Hebrew Hammer Salkin, and today I want to talk about one of my favorite and one of the more underrated deadlift drills, and particularly a deadlift drill that you can do with a kettlebell. This is going to be a relatively short podcast because, again, I'm only going to be covering one move, but it is one that I think can be a real game changer for a lot of people, and I'm going to explain why in just a second. Speaking of changing the game, if one of your goals is to have game changer workouts, you need to be able to move the way that you were made, not the way that you have decayed. And to that end, I highly recommend my 9-minute kettlebell and bodyweight challenge. Unlike the many other challenges of the kettlebell and bodyweight variety that you might see out there, this one is designed around the natural movements of the human body, and specifically one pattern in particular called the gait pattern, or your body's walking pattern. The better you get at this, the easier everything else gets, particularly when you train it for strength and not just long distance things like walking, which, by the way, is one of the best forms of exercise ever. So I'm not knocking walking. But what I'm saying is that if you train it for strength and not just, let's say, this kind of prolonged activity, you'll be very likely very impressed with the results that you get. So the other nice thing about it is that all the moves in the 9-minute challenge can be done in addition to whatever else you're doing. They're very unlikely to interfere. In fact, I would say borderline impossible to interfere with the other work you're doing. It's more than likely going to complement rather than complicate your training. So go to 9minutechallenge.com if you have not already, and be sure to snag yourself a copy. And by the way, if you are a regular listener to the show and you agree and you found that this has been really helpful for you, by all means, send this episode or anything that you've read or heard of or watched of mine. Send it to a friend who you think would be useful to, or 100 friends, however many you got, and spread the love and try to knock out the ignorance that we have around our bodies, around movement, and so on and so forth. So that's all there is to it. So go ahead, 9minutechallenge.com. If you're a new listener, go check that out. If you are a repeat listener, by all means, like I said, spread the knowledge. Okay, so now, without further ado, I want to talk about this deadlift variation. I would call it an athletic deadlift variation. And the cool thing about it is the amount of lower body power that it can help you build. Now, when it comes to the world of strength training, probably no group of lower body exercises is more maligned than single leg drills. In fact, I just saw something not that long ago of a very well-known coach who said he just thinks, single leg drills are kind of pointless. And I completely disagree, but that's another topic for another day. The burly powerlifter types who sweat when they breathe, struggle to walk up hills, or just a flight of stairs without wheezing will swear up and down that single leg and single arm exercises are useless. Now, unless you want to move like a robot rather than the apex predator human being you were designed to be, you should probably do some single limb exercises now and again. Now, a big one that people like, especially in the kettlebell world, is the single leg deadlift, but I'm actually going to give my vote to the kickstand deadlift. And now, while a regular deadlift has you using both legs equally, the kickstand deadlift will heavily emphasize one leg while using the other one to help you keep your balance behind you, kind of like a kickstand. Now, not only is this a great precursor to the mighty single leg deadlift, but it also requires a lot less balance, a lot less technique, and it allows you to go much heavier. And the heavier focus on one glute at a time can mean a more athletic body, not to mention greatly increase lower body strength and power. Now, you might be asking why? Well, because as others have said before me, life is lived one leg at a time. You can have super strong squat or very heavy deadlift, but still be unathletic. No agility, crappy balance, bad reaction speed, slow as a prisoner nursing his last meal, And who really wants to live like that? What good is your strength if it's slower than molasses running in January? So one of the things that I would recommend is that you try these out, you put them in some sort of capacity, put them in your program, just test them out. Again, I think one of the things in particular that you'll like is you're going to find that you have a dominant leg and a non-dominant leg. And ultimately, if you want to do cool stuff like sprinting and other athletic activities, you've got to have more or less equal strength on either leg. You don't want one side to be too strong and the other one not strong enough. So Very, very good way of evening out those strength imbalances, crafting a bodacious set of glutes. And, frankly, it's a lot of fun as well. So give them a shot, couple of sets of, 5, 10, maybe 8 to 12, something like that. And before you know it, your rear end is going to feel like it got paddled vigorously at a rather wild bachelor party, meaning you're gonna feel pretty sore. All right. Give these a try. Let me know how you like them. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, feel free to share this podcast with anybody else you think might benefit from a rock hard set of glutes and a stronger lower body. Thank you for listening. Tune into the next episode. And as always, have fun and happy training.